These are some Dinar Guru updates, starting off with Bruce via Wiser Now. You know by now that Iraq could have done their thing many times over, but they and Central Bank of Iraq is the governing body that controls the rate of the dinar. However, even though Iraq is considered a sovereign nation now, they're still subject to the Treasury of the United States to more or less give them the go-ahead as to when to release the new rate. Today we find that Iraq has, I think, the term deadline. There's a theoretical deadline, let's call it, for Iraq to do this on Sunday the 14th. I've heard of a window that was given to me today that took us from tonight all the way to Saturday, and this is from a really good source. So we have a lot to look forward to this week. I believe we're in really good shape for this to go now. We do know that the rates are going to be fantastic. I think even better than we thought. Right, Frank 26 question. The Bank of International Settlements, the central bank of all central banks, and it is a requirement by the BIS that they be notified within a certain amount of time, and that fluctuates as to when the country is going to change their rate. Has the BIS been notified of the imminent rate change in Iraq? Frank says, in my opinion, yes. All right, Jeff, quote, the House of Representatives completes voting on the federal court bill, unquote. They've had attempts to pass this federal court law for a very long time, over many, many years. It's part of the basket of suspended laws. It's also linked and timed with the rate change. It can only happen in close proximity to the rate change. Last week they finished 6 out of 10 parts. Yesterday they finished the last 4 sections. At this time, the federal court bill has been completely passed and approved. That's huge progress. Iraq is now graduating back to the international world. All right, Mark Z via PDK. Well, if you're following any news from Iraq, you should be excited. They're ramming HCL, hydrocarbon law, though through so they can change their value. I've talked to a couple contacts on the ground inside Iraq. HCL is being pushed, and they are trying very hard to have a new value within the next 2 weeks. Even all my Redemption Center people are on call now, on standby for now and for the weekend. They need to be able to report to the centers within a couple hours. Things are getting exciting. All right, from Pimpy, article quote, Member of Parliament on the exchange rate of the dollar. It will continue until this date. What? Is there a date for the rate? Quote, calls for a reduction or restoration of the exchange rate to its previous state, quote unquote. What does this mean? Some people think it means restoring to its previous rate of $3.22 for every dinar. It isn't very clear here. In my opinion, a jump that big at this moment would be a bad move. It would cause the collapse of the dinar, jumping to the $3.22 rate. Not quite yet. Let's let them get things going, and then we'll see what happens. Restoring it back to 1190, I can see that. Yes, you guys can make all kinds of arguments both ways about what the rate should be. I understand that. Does it mean it will never change? No. It could change by next month. That's the thing. We have to watch what they do. When Kuwait went to change their dinars, they told people it wouldn't happen for years. Then it happened 2 days later. All right, Mountain Goat article quote, Al-Habusi present the budget to presents the budget to a vote soon, and we will proceed with the legislation of the oil and gas law, unquote. I have always said that Iraq will need to fully implement their new Constitution of 2005, no matter what this means prior to the reinstatement of their currency. There's not much more to do. We know they need a referendum for the Article 140 part to settle how these disputed pieces will be managed and who will manage them. There's also the infamous oil and gas law. Both of these are now in their final stages, and we should finally see them. There's also the court reforms that are expected. All right, Frank 26, the moment Iraqi dinar inside of Iraq goes up in value because they have lifted the 3 zeros off their exchange rate, the real effective exchange rate will be applied to the Iraqi dinar externally. They are about to give the citizens of Iraq the new small category notes at a 1-to-1 rate for their currency, not only domestically but internationally. I think in about 8 months, approximately, give or take, you will see not a 1-to-1 rate anymore. It walks towards the real effective exchange rate. All right, Caparoni says there is no RV. The only way the dinar will go up in a private value with the success of the private sector. Iraq needs to continue to pass laws. I'm sorry, he said the only way it will go up is with the success of the private sector. So Iraq needs to continue to pass laws that are critical to the growth of the economy. Only with significant investment and the development of a private sector will the dinar begin to go up in value. There are no shortcuts. All right, Claire from Guru Frank 26 taught about the 3 phases. Phase 1 at 1-to-1 will be able to exchange then, or do we need to wait for phase 2 for a higher rate? The answer is you can exchange in phase 1 if you choose to. The rate will be international at 1-to-1. It would be your choice to wait for a higher rate if you want to or not, in my opinion. I would like to point out Guru Frank 26 said the $4.25 rate was the cap internationally in his opinion. After the 1-to-1 at the onset, there will be another rate increase inside of Iraq. Frank said the rate and time frame was unknown of that second increase, in my opinion.